But I think for the health and well-being of conservatism in this country and of the Republican Party, there's got to be a reckoning for what's happened these last few months. And I know when I say that, there are those who will portray me as taking the position of the John Brennans of the world or whatever, that we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission or re-education. And that's not where I'm going with this. I don't think that people in the media, I don't think the left, I don't think reporters, I don't think the mainstream media has any say in this. I think this has to be an internal thing, a reckoning for the conservative movement. And I'm probably the one that gets thrown out because so many people have bought the lies. There's got to be a reckoning for QAnon. They need to be exposed. They need to be hunted and exposed as to who these anonymous people actually were. I, for the longest time, was dismissive of QAnon, as some of you are undoubtedly. It was trumped up by the media, amplified by the media, made bigger than it is by the media, and yet I know someone who filled up their bathtub full of water, convinced that the power was going out this week in a military coup. My sister, next door neighbor, came over very concerned, telling all the neighbors that she has a friend who is friends with Donald Trump Jr., and there's going to be a military coup because the election was stolen and Donald Trump was going to stay in power, but the banks and the power is going out, so stockpile your cash, stockpile your food, enough for 2 weeks while this all gets sorted out, and victory comes to Donald Trump. We've had people call this program and my evening program asking about, was the Pope arrested? There are pastors in this country who from the pulpit have pronounced that God has spoken to them that Donald Trump was staying in power. The number of you who have reached out to me because you have members of your family or friends who believe this stuff is staggering. I thought it was a fringe, and I'd like to still tell myself it's a fringe, and many of you still tell yourselves it's a fringe, but the reality is there are way more people who believe this stuff than should. The number of people who really believe that Donald Trump was going to be inaugurated yesterday. I know someone who I have long considered a friend who is mad at me because I do not believe any of this stuff. And his awakening came when the Supreme Court did not side with Donald Trump, because for several years the QAnon people have been saying, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, they're going to be there with Clarence Thomas and Alito, and they're going to side with Trump on this stuff, and they're going to hand him the election. How many of you were told that the Supreme Court was going to throw out the election? How many of you believe the election was stolen? Most of you do believe the election was stolen, and it wasn't. And you're mad at me for telling you it wasn't, and you think I'm believing the lie. But I've read through the 60-some-odd complaints filed by the Trump campaign, and none of them ever alleged a stolen election. None of them ever alleged voter fraud. Sidney Powell in her Kraken lawsuit, she herself dismissed that lawsuit. It wasn't thrown out by a Democratic judge. It was thrown out by Sidney Powell herself. There's got to be a reckoning for this sort of crap in the Republican Party, and in the conservative movement in particular. There's got to be an accounting for the people who believe the QAnon stuff and spread it. There's got to be an accounting for the people who believe the Supreme Court was really going to side with Donald Trump and throw out the election and hand it to him, or have a do-over election. There's got to be an accounting for the people who sold those lies to so many good people. There doesn't need to be an accounting for the people who believe it. There's got to be an accounting for the people who knew better and spread it.